What will happen on October 1st, 2025? The truth everyone needs to know. Stop everything right now. What I'm about to share may be the most crucial revelation you'll receive this entire year. We are rapidly approaching a date loaded with unparalleled prophetic significance. And you know what's most alarming? The vast majority of people are living completely oblivious to what's approaching. October 1st, 2025. Engrave this day in your memory. Never forget it. When this date finally arrives, the world as we know it will never be the same. I know exactly what's going through your mind right now. It's just another one of those conspiracy theories, more collective hysteria. But let me ask you a question. What if I state that I'm not working with theories? I'm talking about a cycle that has manifested for thousands of years, a code engraved in the very structure of time that is close to its completion. You're about to understand why authorities around the globe are showing restlessness, why faith communities on all continents maintain constant vigil, and why rare celestial phenomena are converging in a way that defies any casual explanation. Stay with me on this journey, because I'm going to reveal 3 manifestations that have already occurred and a 4th that is at the door. When you connect all this evidence, your understanding of our future will be transformed forever. Before we dive deep into this truth, I need to request something essential. If you seek to understand what's really operating behind the scenes of our planet, show your support right now. Activate notification alerts, because this space will continue bringing truths that the major outlets hide from you. Join us, because we need to build a network of conscious individuals, people who reject prefabricated narratives, people who pursue truth, regardless of how uncomfortable it may be. Now we can truly begin. Prepare yourself, because what comes next will destabilize everything you believed you knew. There is a system of temporal counting that remains hidden to most. While Western civilization marks days through the Gregorian calendar, there is another method of measuring time operating for more than 3 millennia. I'm referring to the Hebrew calendar. Unlike our solar system, the Hebrew calendar is based on lunar phases. It follows the cycles of the moon and maintains deep connection with cosmic events. Why does this have relevance? Because throughout the centuries, whenever monumental events involved the nation of Israel, the firmament presented manifestations. I'm not speaking of poetic symbolisms. I'm referring to concrete, recorded, impossible to dismiss astronomical phenomena. And these manifestations always appeared at specific moments of the Hebrew calendar. Reflect for an instant. In 1948, when Israel re-emerged as an independent nation after almost 2 millennia dispersed across the planet, something exceptional happened in the heavens. Crimson moons appeared, not just one, but multiple. Complete lunar eclipses, transforming the moon into a bright red sphere against the darkness. Let's advance to 1967, the Six-Day War. Israel confronted an alliance of Arab nations determined to eliminate it. Contrary to all estimates, Israel not only survived, but recovered Jerusalem. The holy city returned to Jewish hands for the first time in centuries. Can you guess what occurred in the heavens during this period? More red moons, more lunar eclipses precisely on the dates of Hebrew celebrations. You might argue, lunar eclipses are natural. They happen regularly, and you would be correct. However, there's an element that most ignore: the periodicity, the exact alignment, the synchronization between these celestial events and decisive historical moments for Israel. The mathematical probabilities of this happening by mere chance are practically impossible. Now, in 2025, we witness the pattern repeating. But this time, it's not just about one red moon. It's an entire sequence, a progression of celestial signs so perfectly organized they seem deliberately orchestrated, as if the universe itself was trying to communicate something urgent to us. On the 7th day of September, 2025, millions of people globally observed the night sky. What did they witness? The moon began losing its brightness. Slowly, progressively, a shadow began consuming that white luminous disk. Then, the complete metamorphosis. The moon transformed into red, an intense, sanguine red, impossible to be ignored. For the vast majority, it was simply an admirable visual spectacle, a chance for social media records. But for those familiar with historical patterns, for those who study millennial prophecies, that crimson moon sounded like an alarm, a cosmic awakening resonating. Here's something that will question all your certainties. In ancient scriptures, in manuscripts written thousands of years ago, there exists an exact description of this phenomenon, not as mere astronomical curiosity, but as an omen, a warning that something serious is approaching. The texts explicitly declare, "The sun will be converted into darkness and the moon into blood before the arrival of the great and terrible day." The red moon was just the initial act, because 15 days later, on the 21st day of September, another celestial event shook the planet. This time, it didn't involve the moon. It was the sun. In full daylight clarity, the principal star began to disappear. A solar eclipse. The moon positioned itself between our planet and the sun, completely blocking its light for 6 complete minutes. 6 minutes of darkness in broad daylight. Visualize the scene. Birds, confused, returning to nests, imagining that night had arrived, temperature plunging abruptly, stars becoming visible in the daytime sky, millions of people looking upward, experiencing that ancestral fear that arises when the natural order seems broken. Let me ask a fundamental question. Do you believe in coincidences? If you do, prepare to have that belief deeply tested. The sequence is this. Initially, the moon becomes red. 15 days later, the sun darkens. The day after the solar eclipse, something happens that few noticed, but which is absolutely essential to understand what's happening. On the 22nd day of September, the autumn equinox arrived. Do you know what an equinox represents? It's that unique annual instant when day and night possess exactly the same length. 12 hours of clarity, 12 hours of darkness, a perfect balance that lasts only a moment, because immediately after the equinox, the scale begins to tilt, darkness begins to prevail, nights extend longer than days. For Hebrew tradition, the autumn equinox marks the beginning of the 7th month of the calendar. The 7th month is not a common period. It's the most sacred month of the entire year. It's when the most important, most solemn celebrations occur, most loaded with prophetic significance. Recapping: red moon, darkened sun, and the beginning of the darkness cycle. 3 cosmic events in impeccable sequence. 3 warnings inscribed in the firmament. All this happening in the weeks that preceded the most crucial period of the Hebrew calendar. We haven't reached the climax yet. On the 24th day of September, 2025, something unprecedented happened in Jerusalem. When I say unprecedented, I'm referring to something never done before in modern history. The 24th of September marked Rosh Hashanah, the Jewish New Year, the beginning of year 5786 in the Hebrew calendar. Rosh Hashanah is not just a year-end celebration, it's much deeper. It's the day when, according to tradition, God created humanity. It's the anniversary of human existence. More significant still, Rosh Hashanah is known as the Day of Judgment. The belief holds that on this day, celestial records are opened, the book of life and the book of death. Each human being is evaluated for their actions from the previous year. It's as if all humanity was summoned to appear before a cosmic tribunal. Here's the crucial detail that connects everything. On Rosh Hashanah, it's tradition to sound the shofar. The shofar is a ram's horn that produces a sharp, penetrating sound impossible to ignore. Historically, the shofar was used to announce important events, to summon the people, to warn of dangers, to proclaim liberation. In 2025, Israel did something extraordinary, something that captured worldwide attention. In Jerusalem, 100 shofars were sounded simultaneously. 100. The sound was broadcast live to the entire planet through the internet. Millions of people watched in real time as that chorus of ram's horns echoed through the ancient streets of the city. Why did Israel do this? Why did they decide to amplify this message globally? Reflect on this. It wasn't a private celebration, it was a public announcement, a global alert, as if they were declaring, "Pay attention, something is in motion, the chronometer is running." What does the sound of the shofar announce on Rosh Hashanah? It announces the beginning of the 10 days of awe. 10 days between the opening of the judgment books and the closing of these records. 10 days for people to examine their existences. 10 days for repentance. 10 days for transformation. When do these 10 days end? On the first day of October, Yom Kippur, the Day of Atonement. The most sacred, most solemn, most important day of the entire Hebrew calendar, the day when the books are closed and destinies are sealed. Now you're beginning to understand why October 1st, 2025 transcends a mere date on the calendar. It's the end of a countdown that began with signs in the sky. It's the moment when, according to millennial tradition, judgments are finalized and can no longer be modified. Let's go deeper. Yom Kippur carries a historical and prophetic load that most are unaware of. When you discover what happened on this day in the past, you'll understand why so many people are carefully observing what may occur this year. Yom Kippur is the day when all of Israel stops, literally. The entire country enters a 25-hour fast. Without food, without water, without work, the streets become deserted. Airports cease operations. Television interrupts transmissions. It's as if the entire nation entered suspension for one complete day. Why such a rigorous fast? Because Yom Kippur is the day of reckoning with the divine. It's the day of maximum purification. In ancient times, when the temple still stood in Jerusalem, the high priest performed a unique ritual on this day. He was the only person authorized to enter the Holy of Holies, the most sacred place of the temple, where it was believed that the divine presence dwelled. What did the high priest do there? He interceded for the people. He asked forgiveness first for his own sins, and then for the sins of the entire nation. 2 goats were used in the ritual. One was sacrificed. The other, called the scapegoat, had all the guilt of the people symbolically transferred to it and was sent to the desert. It was as if transgressions were carried away, removed, erased. Here's the sinister detail. Yom Kippur, being the day when Israel is most spiritually vulnerable, being the day when the entire country is focused on prayer and fasting, has also historically been the day chosen for attacks, the day when Israel's enemies tried to destroy it. The most dramatic example happened on October 6, 1973. It was Yom Kippur. Israel was fasting, the synagogues were packed, the streets empty. Suddenly, the sirens began to sound. Egypt and Syria launched a coordinated surprise attack. Tanks crossing borders, planes bombing positions. It was the Yom Kippur War. Israel was caught completely unprepared. In the first days of the war, losses were catastrophic. It seemed Israel would be defeated. But against all expectations, against all military logic, Israel reversed the situation. Not only did it survive, but it won. That war forever changed the balance of power in the Middle East. We have a historical pattern. Yom Kippur is a day of vulnerability, but also a day of extraordinary intervention. A day when the impossible becomes possible. Now we're approaching Yom Kippur 2025. With tensions in the Middle East higher than ever, with conflicts in Gaza, with threats from multiple fronts, the question hanging in the air is, will something happen? Are we about to witness another historical event on this prophetic day? And more importantly, are we paying attention to the signs? The story becomes even more intriguing. It's not just recent events that are aligning. There's a temporal code hidden in the scriptures themselves, a pattern of sevens that repeats throughout the entire biblical narrative. When you understand this pattern, you begin to see the complete panorama. Let's start from the beginning. Creation. According to the biblical account, the world was created in 6 days. On the 7th day, there was rest. This pattern of 6 plus 1 became fundamental. 6 days of work, 1 day of rest, the week that we all know and live. Ancient sages perceived something fascinating. What if this pattern wasn't just about days? What if it were a model to understand all human history? There's a passage in Scripture that says, "For the Lord, 1 day is like 1,000 years, and 1,000 years like 1 day." If we apply this logic, we would have 6,000 years of human history, followed by a millennium of peace and rest. A period called the Messianic Age, an age of harmony, justice, and global restoration. Do the math. According to biblical genealogies, from creation to the birth of Jesus, approximately 4,000 years passed. From Jesus to today, 2,000 years. 4,000 plus 2,000 equals 6,000. We're at the end of the 6th prophetic day, on the edge of the 7th millennium. Is this just numerology? Perhaps, but there's more. There's another cycle of sevens in Scripture, the Jubilee. Every 49 years, in the 50th year, Israel was to celebrate the year of Jubilee. It was a year of total liberation, debts cancelled, slaves freed, lands returned to original owners. It was a complete societal reset. The Jubilee wasn't just a social practice, it was prophetic. It represented the great final liberation that would come when the Messiah appeared. Scholars who analyzed Jubilee cycles discovered that 2025 may mark the end of one of these great cycles. Not a common Jubilee, but a Jubilee of Jubilees, the end of multiple 50-year cycles overlapping. There's still a third clock, one that involves specific numbers mentioned in prophecies: 1,260 days, 1,290 days. These numbers appear in ancient prophetic texts describing periods of tribulation and judgment. When added together, these periods total 2,550 days. If you take a significant recent date and count exactly 2,550 days forward, you arrive at September 15, 2032. Guess what day that is on the Hebrew calendar? Yom Kippur. Again. We have 3 different clocks: the creation clock, the Jubilee clock, the numerical prophecy clock, 3 completely independent systems, all pointing to the same time period, all indicating that we're in a crucial window of history. Before you think I'm trying to predict exact dates, let me be crystal clear. The scriptures are clear. No one knows the exact day or hour, not even the angels know. But we are instructed to recognize the seasons, to discern the signs of the times. The signs are everywhere, not just in the heavens, not just in ancient calendars, but in the very fabric of current geopolitical reality. Think about what's happening in Israel at this moment. Tensions have never been higher. The conflict in Gaza drags on. Threats from Lebanon to the north, Iran developing nuclear capability. At the center of all this, Jerusalem, the city that everyone wants, the city that no one is willing to share. Benjamin Netanyahu, the longest-serving prime minister in Israel's history, has a clear vision. Jerusalem, undivided, eternal capital. But this position puts Israel on a collision course with practically the entire world. The United Nations condemns. Arab countries threaten. Global powers pressure. There's a concept called Greater Israel. The idea that the borders promised to Abraham 4,000 years ago were much larger than current Israel. Extending from the river of Egypt to the Euphrates, this would include parts of Egypt, all of Jordan, parts of Syria, Lebanon, and Iraq. Does it sound absurd, impossible? But look at what's happening. Every military conflict that Israel wins results in more territory under its control. Each strategic victory expands the zone of influence. It's as if, piece by piece, the map is being reconfigured. Ancient prophecies speak exactly about this. They speak of a time when Israel would be surrounded by enemies, when nations would unite to destroy it, when there would be a massive coalition marching against the small nation, a war so great it would involve the entire world. The prophecies also say that Israel won't fight alone, that there will be direct intervention, earthquakes, confusion among enemy forces, fire falling from the sky, a victory so impossible, so supernatural, that the entire world will be forced to recognize that something beyond human capability happened. Are we seeing the prelude to this final war? Every newspaper headline seems like an echo of texts written thousands of years ago. Every military movement seems like a chess piece on a prophetic board. There's one sign that hasn't yet been fulfilled, the most dramatic of all, the one that will make everything else seem small in comparison. It's the total darkening, the darkness that will cover the entire world. The scriptures describe this with frightening details. The sun will become black, the moon will not give its light, the stars will fall from the sky, the powers of the heavens will be shaken. It won't be a common eclipse. It will be as if the entire universe entered collapse. Imagine the scene. You're conducting your normal life. Suddenly the sky begins to darken. But it's not a storm cloud. It's not pollution. It's as if someone were dimming the sun's brightness. The moon becomes invisible. Then total darkness. No matter where you are on the planet, no matter what time it is, everything becomes black. The panic would be instantaneous. Electrical systems would fail. Communications would fall. Chaos would reign. Humanity dependent on technology, on predictability, on order, would suddenly find itself completely helpless. According to the prophecies, this darkness is not the end. It's the announcement. In the middle of this total darkness, a light will appear, a light like no other, a light that will cut across the sky from one horizon to another. Every eye will see. There will be no way to avoid it. There will be no way to deny it. It will be the definitive sign, the return, the second coming. The moment when human history as we know it comes to an end and a new era begins. Along with this light, there will be a sound, the sound of a trumpet, not a human trumpet, an angelic trumpet that will resonate throughout the planet. This sound will mark the great gathering. Those who are prepared will be taken. Those who are not will remain to face what comes next. I know this may seem frightening, and it should, but here's the truth that needs to be told. These signs weren't given to cause paralyzing terror. They were given as warnings, as opportunities, as calls to awaken while there's still time. The central question that crosses all these prophecies, all these signs, all these events, is not about trying to guess the exact date. It's not about stockpiling food or building underground shelters. It's about a much deeper, much more personal question. Are you ready? When I say ready, I'm not talking about physical preparation. I'm talking about spiritual preparation. I'm talking about where you're placing your trust, what you're building your life on. According to the scriptures themselves, when that final moment arrives, it won't matter how many good things you did. It won't matter how many rules you followed. It won't matter your social position or your bank account. The only thing that will matter is whether you're covered by the right righteousness. This righteousness is not produced by human effort. It's a gift that needs to be received, not earned. Jesus Christ, according to Christian faith, lived the perfect life that none of us could live. He paid the price that none of us could pay. His death on the cross and his resurrection are presented as the only bridge between imperfect humanity and a perfect God. Here's the paradox that many people miss. The more you try to save yourself by your own merits, the farther away you get. It's when you admit that you can't, that you're not enough, that you need help, that the door opens. It's in surrender, not in effort, that salvation is found. That's why October 1st, 2025, Yom Kippur, the Day of Atonement, carries so much symbolism. It's the day when traditionally the books are closed, the day when destinies are sealed. It's a reminder that time is not infinite, that there's a limit, that decisions need to be made while there's still opportunity. This opportunity exists now, in this moment, while you're watching this video, while there's still air in your lungs, while the voice calling you to awaken can still be heard. When the books close, it will be too late. There will be no renegotiations. There will be no plan B. What do you need to do? The answer is at once simple and profound. Recognize that you need help. Admit that your good deeds are not enough. Accept the gift of Christ's righteousness. Trust that what he did is sufficient when what you did is not. This doesn't mean you become perfect instantly. It means you receive a new identity, a new position, not based on performance, but on grace. From this place of security, you begin to live differently, not to deserve salvation, but because you've already received it. Why is all this so urgent? Because the signs are accumulating. The red moon appeared. The sun darkened. The prophetic sequence is in motion. The clocks are aligned. Geopolitical tensions are at breaking point. Yom Kippur is coming. I'm not saying that something definitive will happen on October 1st, 2025. No one can affirm that with certainty. What I'm saying is that all these signs point to a window of time, a prophetic season, a period in which the probability of monumental events increases dramatically. Even if October 1st passes and nothing apparent happens, this doesn't invalidate the alert. The clock keeps running. The signs keep appearing. One day, on a date that no one knows for certain, but which is approaching, everything will materialize. I cannot finish this video without making a direct appeal to you. If you've come this far, it's not by chance. You were attracted to this message for some reason. Maybe curiosity, maybe fear, maybe a premonition that something is wrong with the world and you can't identify exactly what. That premonition is right. Something is happening. The world is changing in ways that most people can't see because they're too distracted with their daily problems. But you felt it. That's why you're here now. My appeal is this. Don't ignore what you learned today. Don't file it away as just another interesting piece of information. Don't let this get lost in the whirlwind of content you consume every day. Let this penetrate. Let this bother you. Let this move you to action. The action is simple. Examine your life. Examine what you're trusting in. If it's money, it can disappear. If it's health, it can fail. If it's relationships, they can disappoint you. If it's your own goodness, you'll discover it has limits. The only anchor that will remain when everything else is shaken is genuine faith in something greater than you. According to the Christian message, this something greater has a name and a face. Jesus Christ. You don't need to understand everything. You don't need to have all the answers. You just need to take the first step. Recognize your need. Ask for help. Place your trust in Him instead of in yourself. If you do this, when October 1st arrives, you won't be in panic. When the next signs appear, you won't be in despair. You'll have an anchor, a certainty that doesn't depend on external circumstances. Before you leave this video, I need you to do 3 things. First, leave a comment. Tell me what you thought. Tell me if you already knew this information or if this is new to you. Tell me if you're feeling the weight of these times or if you think it's all exaggeration. I want to hear your voice. I want to know what's going through your mind. Second, share this video. I don't ask this out of vanity or for numbers. I ask because the information you just received can change someone's life. It could be the person you love. It could be a friend who is lost. It could be a family member who needs to hear this alert. Don't keep this to yourself. Spread it. Third, subscribe to the channel and activate all notifications. This is just the beginning. I'll continue bringing deep analyses about prophecies, about world events, about the signs of the times. You need to be on the front line of this information. Don't wait for this to appear in your feed by chance. Make an active decision to follow. October 1st, 2025 is coming. When that day passes, we'll return here to analyze together what happened or didn't happen. Until then, keep your eyes open. Keep your mind alert. Keep your heart ready. Regardless of what happens on a specific date, one thing is certain. We're living in extraordinary times. We're seeing prophetic convergences that previous generations only dreamed of witnessing. You have the unique opportunity not just to observe, but to position yourself correctly before these events, to make the choice that will determine not just your immediate future, but your eternal destiny. Think carefully. Reflect deeply. Don't leave for tomorrow the decision that needs to be made today. Tomorrow may be too late. October 1st may be just the beginning of what's to come. The signs are clear. The message has been delivered. Now the responsibility is yours. What will you do with this information? How will you respond to this alert? Where will you place your trust when the world begins to tremble? These are the questions that will accompany you in the coming days. I sincerely hope you find the right answers. When the last trumpet sounds, when the last sign is given, when the books are finally closed, there will be no more time for doubts. Only the reality of what you chose will remain. Stay in peace, but stay alert. Keep hope, but keep yourself prepared. Always remember, we are not here by chance. You didn't watch this video by accident. All of this is part of a greater plan, a plan that is unfolding before our eyes. October 1st, 2025. Mark this date. Observe carefully. Above all, use this moment as a catalyst to examine your own life and make the necessary changes while there's still time. Until the next video, may you be ready for whatever comes next.